Back in August, I talked about one of my favorite episodes of American Dad, Rabbit Ears. Rabbit Ears is an episode that stands out from the rest of American Dad because of its unique premise and intriguing mystery. American Dad's best episodes tend to be the ones where the regular formula is thrown out in exchange for something completely different. Whether it's in an episode like Rapture's Delight, Tearjerker, The 200, or so on, American Dad tends to shine brightest when they shake up their formula and try something completely different. And today we are going to talk about one such episode where the usual formula is thrown out the window in exchange for a setting and story that's unlike any other episode of American Dad. Today, we'll be looking at Season 8, Episode 18 of American Dad, titled Lost in Space, or as many people call it, the Majestic episode. This episode is especially unique because it doesn't feature anyone from the Smith family for the majority of the episode. Instead, this episode focuses on Jeff and comedian Sinbad, of all people, being imprisoned by Roger's species and forced to work in a ship-sized mall. Apart from a short recap at the beginning of the episode and a cameo by Roger at the end of the episode, Lost in Space focuses exclusively on Jeff as he struggles to find his way back to Earth and back to his true love, Haley. Now, if you're not up on your American Dad lore, this will probably sound really confusing, so let's start from the very beginning. You know, if you told me a year ago I'd say the words American Dad lore unironically or not in a joking way, I'd probably think you were crazy, but here we are. So, on we go. Jeff finds out Roger is an alien, and because he is still somewhat an outsider to the Smith family, Stan decides he has to kill him. But Roger steps in and offers to simply return to his home planet, leaving the Smiths behind and allowing Jeff to keep on living. Roger's species comes to pick him up, and just before he leaves, he decides to say one final goodbye to Jeff in what seems like a heartwarming moment. But then, Roger tosses Jeff into the ship's tractor beam transporter thingy, and Jeff disappears along with the ship. Roger has solved the problem of his secret getting out through Jeff, and Haley is now left without her husband. And with that, the recap is finished, and the episode begins where we see Jeff imprisoned aboard the alien ship. It's revealed that this ship is home to Emperor Zing, the ruler of Roger's species, and the ship acts as a massive shopping mall populated by all of the Emperor's favorite stores and restaurants from across the galaxy. And here was something I was not expecting to bring up in terms of a crossover, but Emperor Zing is voiced by Michael McKean, aka Chuck McGill from Better Call Saul. I don't really have anything else to say about this. I just thought it was kind of neat. He's got a lot of range as a performer, I'll give him that. I did not realize this was him when I first saw this episode, so props to you, Michael McKean. But moving on, Jeff finds himself working in a shawarma hut with none other than Sinbad. The famous, well, the hilarious, the guy from First Kid. Remember First Kid? He's the guy in First Kid. It's while Jeff is working with Sinbad that we first meet Emperor Zing, who refuses to let Jeff go despite his desperate plea. It seems all hope is lost for Jeff, until he's told by an eavesdropping alien that he can take a test to win his freedom. The test Jeff would have to take to win his freedom requires him to prove to Emperor Zing that when he was abducted, he was separated from his true love, Haley. But Sinbad is quick to reel Jeff in, telling him that if he fails, he'll be made smooth. What does being made smooth entail, you ask? Well, if Jeff fails to prove his true love is Haley, his genitals will be subjected to a machine that will obliterate them. And quick sidebar, I just love the design of the smoothing machine so much in this episode. It's this super gruesome mess of saw blades and spikes that's just connected to a small little trash can. It's hilariously over the top and goofy. I just love it. After hearing out Sinbad, Jeff decides to try and take the test anyways, putting his genitals on the line. And with that, the stage is set, our stakes are set up, and while it's goofy and incredibly over the top, they are real stakes, and you kind of feel for Jeff. He's been pulled away from his wife, his home, he's in this completely alien world with his only recognizable figure being Sinbad of all people. It's just such a goofy premise and story and setting, and everything about it works really well, and I didn't think it would upon rewatching this episode. I was kind of expecting this to be a video where I go against the grain somewhat, because a lot of people really love this episode, and I remember it being pretty good, but I remember it having some issues, but up to this point, I have no complaints. It's goofy and weird and over the top, and I am loving every second of it. But now it's time for Jeff to take the test, and it's just as alien as you would expect it to be given this episode so far. Jeff is brought before the Emperor with the entire ship standing by to witness the test. The Emperor calls on the summoner to summon something called the Majestic, and this kicks off a musical number that is just as catchy as it is strange. The song that is sung by the summoner is Majestic by Waxfang, and as of right now, it is far and away Waxfang's most popular song. This song fits perfectly with both the setting and plot of the episode, and on top of that, it's incredibly catchy and has been burned into my brain since seeing this episode. But I've hyped it up enough. Here is the entirety of Waxfang's Majestic as seen in the episode. Oh shit, that's right, we're on YouTube. Okay, moving on. During this musical number, we see the Majestic access Jeff's memories, and Jeff is seen being a less than stellar husband to Haley. Every clip shown by the Majestic only further spells doom for Jeff. And finally, the Emperor declares that Jeff has failed the test, and he will be made smooth the following day. Jeff is devastated after failing the Majestic's test, and he is given the opportunity by a shapeshifter to use his penis one final time. The shapeshifter offers to turn into Haley for Jeff, and initially Jeff agrees, but he is quickly put off by the shapeshifter because she may be Haley on the outside, but she isn't Haley on the inside. After talking with the shapeshifter for a bit, Jeff realizes that the Majestic was only showing the bad times he had with Haley, despite there being far more good times that weren't shown to the Emperor. So, Jeff decides to go interrogate the Majestic to see why it didn't show any of his happy memories with Haley. Jeff finds his way down to the Majestic, which is revealed to be a massive alien that lives off of the waste and trash that is generated on the ship. The Majestic explains that the Emperor won't allow him to show any happy memories, because if he does, then he'll be shot out into space. The Majestic also explains that the Emperor once had a true love, but he had his heart broken, and in order to distract himself from the heartbreak, the Emperor turned his ship into a giant shopping mall. The Emperor also introduced the Majestic as a way of tricking his people into believing true love wasn't real. And this part of the episode is a real drag compared to the rest of it. Jeff and the Majestic just talk, and there isn't anything interesting about how the information is conveyed. The Majestic has no hang-ups about immediately betraying the Emperor despite being under the threat of death, and the scene ends with a pretty lazy shit in my mouth joke. How many times have we seen that one? That is I mean, at this point, 2023, a shit in my mouth joke. Are you kidding me? Moving on. This conversation between Jeff and the Majestic is the only time in this whole episode where things feel phoned in, and surprisingly, it's the only point where the episode doesn't feel believable. Everything else up to this scene and everything after is really great and memorable, but this one scene is so lazy and blatant with how it conveys its information that it really waters down the rest of the episode as a whole. But thankfully, this is the only part of the episode I did not enjoy, and from here on, things get a lot more fun. Jeff is about to have his genitals eviscerated, but when he removes his pants, it's revealed that the shapeshifter has taken his place. Jeff emerges from the depths of the ship with the Majestic and shows everyone not only his memories of true love, but everyone's memories that were ignored by order of the Emperor. After doing this, Jeff and Sinbad make a break for the elevator to escape the ship, But first, the Majestic decides to show everyone how the Emperor had his heart broken. The Majestic accesses the Emperor's memory, and of course, the Emperor had his heart broken by none other than Roger. Now that everyone knows the Emperor was lying and manipulating them, a full-scale uprising takes place, leaving the path wide open for Jeff and Sinbad to escape. There's only one thing left standing in Jeff and Sinbad's way: an army of the Emperor's guards. Jeff and Sinbad fight their way through the guards, and after way too much discussion, Jeff allows Sinbad to sacrifice himself so that he can escape. Jeff is finally free from the alien ship, and now all he has to do is find his way home. But finding a way back to Earth is going to be far more difficult than Jeff initially thought. But lucky for Jeff, the ghost of Sinbad shows up to help him get back home to Haley. And with that, the episode ends. Now, this is one of the top 5 highest rated episodes of American Dad on IMDb, sitting at number 5. And after revisiting it, I can definitely see why people like this episode so much. It's a lot different than any other episode of American Dad, and the setting is a lot of fun. On top of that, there's a really fun musical number, and we even get some background information on Roger and his species. Lost in Space is an episode that takes a lot of risks. It leaves the main cast of American Dad behind in favor of Sinbad and a side character, which is just really bizarre. On top of that, it also leaves the setting of the show behind for a drastically different sci-fi story, and the story of the episode is pretty sappy and corny, all things considered. It's about true love and having your heart broken and finding your way back. It's all kind of strange, and it doesn't sound like it would work, but all of these risks seemed to pay off, making an episode that truly stands out from the rest of this series. The only real downside of this episode is the really boring scene where Jeff is talking to the Majestic and all this information just gets dumped on the audience in a really unclever way. But other than that, this episode is a lot of fun, and honestly, that's all I'm looking for when it comes to American Dad. It might not be perfect, it might not be the funniest episode, it might not be the most heartfelt episode, but it is the only episode of American Dad that I would classify as majestic. Thank you all very much for watching this video, especially if you made it this far, in which case you're hearing this, so you know that I am thanking you, so I'm not sure why I said that. It's been pretty hectic for me the last couple of weeks. I've fallen behind on some work, I've fallen behind on some of these uploads, I've fallen behind on some personal projects and personal stuff. It's just been crazy and hectic. We're getting into the holiday season, so it's only going to get more hectic. But I have another video mostly written right now. It's also on American Dad, of all things. It's a lot of fun. It's a good bit different, this next video I'm working on. I don't know if it'll be the next one to get uploaded or if I'll sit on it for a little while to kind of break up the American Dad discussion. But we'll see. That one's in the works. I'm sure I have plenty of other episodes I want to talk about. I want to revisit some stuff with Futurama. I want to talk about Primal. There's a bunch of fun stuff to look at and go over, so stay tuned for that. Once again, thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe to become a cow, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.